Hey everybody, this is GeoJoe here today with a tutorial video on the GeoVision VMS software, and this video will also apply to the AI Guard program as well. So for today's video, I would like to talk about how to create users within the VMS software and how those users can be set up to where you can change what they can have access to remotely. For example, if you only want them to have access to view certain cameras remotely, you are able to program that in the VMS. Before I get into the video, if you find this content on this channel useful, please consider subscribing to the channel and also giving the video a thumbs up. That'll really help exposure of the channel. So again, today we are going to go over setting up user accounts and passwords within the VMS software. This will apply to both GeoVision VMS 17 as well as VMS 18, and then it will also apply to the AI Guard software. So when you are in the live view screen of the VMS or the AI Guard, right up here in the top right-hand corner where my computer says admin123, this shows what login that you are currently logged into the software as. So if you'd like to create a new user, you can click that and you can go to password setup and then local account edit. Once the screen opens up for local account edit, you will see several options here. The section that you will want to start out with is in the top left, and you'll see that there is a hierarchy. You have user, power user, and supervisor. These are the three most common levels that we typically see used. The way that you can think about this is supervisor level has basically all privileges on the system. Power user is kind of like a mid-level manager that has some reduced privileges. And then user is more of just a basic level user where most of the account privileges are turned off by default. So you will want to determine what level you will want to make that user. Let's say, for example, you are going to create a secondary supervisor account. You can just click on the header titled supervisor and then hit new. And when this window comes up, you will want to give it a new ID. So let's just call this admin1. And then we'll give it an account password. You can use a hint if you want as well. And then whenever you hit OK, it will now create a new user there. Now, if we click on that new user that we have created, you can see over here on the right, all of the privileges are already checked since we are in the supervisor account. But now let's go back and let's create just a regular user account. Hit new, and we're going to do the same process. We're just going to call this user1. We'll create our ID and password, hit OK, and now we can look over here on the right and you can see several of these objects are unchecked. So you'll also notice there are some tabs along the bottom here. These tabs are having to do with where you're accessing the video. So VMS would be what the user can see and do when they are logged into the actual VMS machine itself. View log is what they can see and do when they are on the VMS machine, but they are trying to watch playback footage. Webcam/mobile dictates what they can do through the mobile app GVI, as well as through the web browser. And then it also will dictate what they have access to through the client viewing software, which is called Edge Recording Manager. Now, Control Center, this is our large-scale central monitoring software. If you do want to toggle what the user can do through the Control Center software, you can click on that tab and you can enable or disable it. But again, if we go back through here, let's start on the VMS tab. Over on the right side, you have all of your cameras listed out that are on that VMS. And let's say, for example, that while the user is logged into the VMS itself, you only want them to have access to these first two cameras on the list. So what you can do is then you can uncheck the cameras that you don't want that person to have access to. There is a column here for video on the left and then a column for audio on the right. So if you'd like to disable audio on those two cameras, you can do that as well. Or let's say, for example, on the cameras that they do have access to, you only want them to see video and not audio. You could uncheck it and configure it that way as well. If you scroll over, it's going to show you your camera names, however you have named the cameras. So that will be displayed right there. And that really kind of helps you to narrow down which cameras you are giving them access to. Now, again, there's all kinds of things that you can enable or disable for them. Let's say you don't want that user to be able to control a PTZ camera. We can uncheck that there. Let's say that you don't want them to be able to start monitoring or to start a schedule. We can uncheck that as well. If you come over to the View Log tab, again, this dictates what they have access to view when they are looking at playback footage on the actual VMS machine. So if they are physically standing there at the VMS and they have came up here to the right and hit the film strip icon, this is where you can control what that user can view. So again, if you want to uncheck certain cameras that you don't want them to have access to, you can do that. You can uncheck the ability to export an AVI file or backup video. So those can all be done right there. And then lastly, webcam/mobile. If you do want to disable what they can remotely view, it's going to be the same process over here. And there is a useful feature here as well called limit connection time. If you enable this, you can dictate the number of seconds that that user can be remotely accessing the video through the mobile app or the Edge Recording Manager program. So let's say, for example, you don't want that user just constantly keeping the mobile app open and streaming bandwidth from the customer site. This will allow you to make their system automatically disconnect or their mobile app automatically disconnect after a certain amount of seconds that you set. So once you have created the users, you can go ahead and hit OK, and it will then add those users to the system. And if you ever need to change a user that you are logged into here in the VMS, you can click the drop down and then go to Change User. And when you do that, you now have the ability to type in that user that you want to change to, and it will log the system in as that user. Now, when you are remote and accessing the video on the Edge Recording Manager program or the mobile app GVI, that is where you would type in those username and passwords that we just created here in the VMS. This has been a quick overview tutorial on how to create users and how to configure their privileges within the VMS and AI Guard software. For further information on our product line, please check us out at www.geovision.com.tw/US. Thanks a lot for watching.